Hi there, I'm Flavia and I'm glad you stopped by. Today we will be creating Christmas note cards that have a fun interactive element. Since Christmas is my favorite holiday and it goes by so fast, I've decided to create Christmas note cards all year round, and if you're interested, you can find in the description box down below a link to my Christmas playlist. To create the truck and the elements that I will place in the truck, I will be using the Spellbinders Holiday Haul die set. This is not a new release and unfortunately it is not available anymore, but I hope this video inspires you to also put your old dies and stamp sets to good use. This set was released as the small die of the month for October 2021, and since I haven't used it in a while, I thought I would do so today. Along with this die set, I will also be using a set by Mama Elephant to create a slider mechanism that I will show you later. This one is still available, and I will also have links in the description box down below to all of the products used in today's video. Here is a look at all of the pieces that we can cut with the Spellbinders Holiday Haul die set. My first note card will have a pink truck that we can slide back and forth, and in the back of this truck I will place a gift box and a Christmas tree. It was very easy to assemble these die cut pieces, and when in doubt, know that we can always check the Spellbinders packaging for instructions on how to assemble the pieces. I'm using a wax pencil to pick up these tiny pieces and the Barely Art glue that I transferred to this needle tip bottle so I have more control over the amount of glue that I'm applying. Since I will not be gluing this truck to a panel, I added a piece of clear tape to the back of my die cut truck so I can pop in all of these small die cuts to the negative spaces of this truck. To add some dimension, I will add foam adhesive to the back of these side pieces of the truck. If you do not like adding dimension, you can go ahead and use liquid adhesive instead. But since I cut it in the same color of cardstock that I used for the truck, this was the way that I found to make these parts stand out. Plus, I do love adding dimension to my note cards. And remember, you can also stack die cuts for dimension instead of using foam adhesive, just like I'm doing here with the die cut trucks. I decided to stack these die cut trucks to make it stronger, since this piece will be the interactive element of this note card. By stacking a few die cut trucks, it will keep it from easily bending as we slide this truck back and forth. And here is a closer look at the completed truck. Once you have all of the pieces cut out, it really takes you no time at all to put the pieces together, and it is very enjoyable. Notice that this die set also has a metal plate to cut out pumpkins, which is perfect for creating fall or Thanksgiving note cards as well. Moving on to the next step, we need to create an element that we can use to hide the slider mechanism that we will create next. I'm sorry I'm not showing you that first, but I promise this will make sense in a minute. I'm using the Long Fawn Clouds border die to cut out a white cloud. This cloud needs to be as long as the card base is and a little bit wider than the slider mechanism, so we can use this cloud to hide it. Once I've die cut my cloud, I will run it through my die cut machine one more time to cut out a small opening that will allow us to easily grab the pull tab that we will place under this cloud. To do so, I will use a small circle die, and I will offset half of this circle plate, so I only cut half of the circle off of the edge of this cloud. By the way, today's note cards are side folding and measure 5.5 inches wide by 4.25 inches tall, and they can go inside A2 size envelopes. So now that I have my die cut cloud ready with that opening on the edge, I will place it over my note card exactly where I plan on adhering it later and use it as a guide so I can cut out a half circle in that same spot. I will secure the metal plate in place with a piece of tape, remove the die cut cloud, and unfold the note card before running it through my die cut machine, so I only cut this opening from the front of my note card. If I were to do this again, I think I would have left the note card folded so I could cut that half circle from both sides of my note card. This way, we don't need to open the note card to be able to grab the pull tab. But that is not really a big deal, and it really is up to you. To add texture to the front of my note card, I will try emboss it with a Snowflake embossing folder. Because I only want to dry emboss the front of my note card, I will unfold it before I place it inside my embossing folder. After that, I will add some color to my front panel by using Ranger Distress Oxide ink in the color Tumbled Glass. If you happen to get cracks and tears on your cardstock when you dry emboss it, try misting the cardstock with some water before running it through the die cut machine. This is a great trick because the water will soften the fibers of the cardstock and keep it from tearing. For the sentiment, I've decided to stamp it on the die cut cloud using black ink. This sentiment is from a stamp set called Holiday Wishes by Altenew. Since we will need to use foam adhesive to adhere this cloud die cut to the front panel, it is easier if we do the stamping before adhering this die cut cloud to the note card. And to stamp the sentiment, I'm using my Misty stamping tool just to be safe. So with this magnet holding my die cut cloud in place, it will allow me to stamp as many times as needed until I get a good stamped result. And now for the slider mechanism, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I will be using this set by Mama Elephant. This is the Slider Glider set. This die set comes with metal plates to cut out slider mechanisms in two different sizes. The smallest set is for portrait style card bases and the big one is for landscape style note cards. I love that we have these two options and that we can combine it with other die sets that we already have to create a fun surprise for the recipient and to make the most out of our supplies. I know this might seem complicated at first, but it really isn't. And you can always find an instructional video at Mama Elephant's YouTube page. So since my note card has a landscape orientation, I will be using the large metal plates to cut out the mechanism out of white cardstock. I used 80 pounds cardstock because that is what Mama Elephants recommend when die cutting these pieces. This piece with a rounded edge is the pull tab. We need to stack two of these pieces to make it strong and keep it from easily bending. We are also supposed to die cut two of these tab pieces and glue them back to back, but I completely forgot to do so. I only used one piece and luckily it ended up working just fine. The metal plate for the tab pieces also leaves markings on the cardstock to indicate where we should fold it. To keep these tiny tabs on each side of this piece down, I will use a very small piece of double-sided tape without removing the release paper from the top. We will do that later when we are ready to adhere this mechanism to the note card. To create the sliding motion, we need a piece of plastic and I chose to use a piece of heavy dirty garbage bag since it is very strong. This plastic strip needs to be just wide enough to fit into these open slits in the mechanism, and I will also use double-sided tape to tape the ends together and then trim off the excess with a pair of scissors. And according to Mama Elephant's instructional video, the key here is to really not overthink it and make it too tight or too loose. Also, make sure to adhere the pull tab over this plastic seam. This is very important and it is what will allow the pull tab to easily slide. Once that's done, we can tuck in the end of the pull tab to the other side of the tab piece. And just like that, we have created a slider mechanism. It really is very easy to create this mechanism, and the key for making this work is to use strong plastic and to remember to adhere the pull tab over the plastic seam so it doesn't get stuck as we pull the tab back and forth. Now we need to attach the die cut element that will be sliding to this mechanism. In my case, it is going to be this pink truck. I will use a piece of clear acetate that is about ½ an inch wide. First, I will adhere this piece of acetate to the back of my pink truck by using double-sided tape, and then I will adhere it to the white mechanism that is on top of my note card. I will temporarily place my truck over my note card to figure out the best placement, and I will use a pen to mark where I should add double-sided tape. Once I have my pink truck attached to the slider mechanism, I can go ahead and trim off the excess acetate that is sticking out on the top. Now we can go ahead and add the die cut cloud to hide this mechanism. Before you do that, make sure to test your slider mechanism so you know it is working properly. Because the die cut cloud cannot be touching this mechanism at all, I will use double-sided foam to adhere the cloud to my note card. I will only use a few squares and I will strategically place them in the back of my die cut cloud so the foam squares do not end up over the slider mechanism when I'm done. As a final touch, I will add some sparkle to the side pieces of my truck by going over them with a shimmer pen. This is the easiest way to add some sparkle to your projects, and I love using these pens. By the way, since I used 80 pounds cardstock for my card base, I will also add a white panel inside that I cut to be 4 inches by 5 1/4, so this note card feels heavyweight and it stands nicely on display. I will also add some flat back rhinestones here and there, making sure it will not interfere with the sliding truck. Here is the completed note card along with its matching envelope that I created by embossing the flap of the envelope with that Snowflake embossing folder that I used earlier. I also ink blended the flap of the envelope with that same blue ink pad. And since I had so much fun creating this note card, off camera I made another one with a silver truck. This one only has a tree in the back and I used clear flat back beads instead of rhinestones. The metallic cardstock that I used to cut out the truck is by Team Holtz. It comes in a paper pad with gold and silver metallic cardstock, and it is definitely one of my favorites metallic cardstock. So I hope you enjoyed this video and felt inspired. For pictures and more information, make sure to visit my blog and Instagram page. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you do not miss the next one. I appreciate you spending this time with me and I hope you have an amazing day.